Welcome to the I in Team podcast with Brian Smith and Mary Smith. You are more important to your team than you might believe. Everybody has something to contribute, and most importantly, that's influence. Learn more on today's program. Now, here is Brian Smith and Mary Smith.
Hi team, welcome back to the I in Team podcast. I'm your host Mary Smith here with my dad Brian Smith. Today we're going to be talking about how we're going to be changing up the I in Team podcast a little bit from here on out, and we're also going to be introducing you to our clip for this week.
Yeah, which is me driving to work. So I've been working quite a bit, so has Mary, on Be the I in Team, our second book. So the other day I was working on part of that book, which is called First Impressions. And then while I was thinking, as you'll see, I was also thinking about consistency. And of course, then that just spun off and made me think about our podcast and our vlog and about how difficult and challenging it is. It's more challenging than difficult, though, I would say. Just we're a fully functional business advisory firm, and we don't like excuses. So we're just going to wear them, and we're going to own the issues we're facing. And I'll touch on that a little bit from the car, but what we're wanting to share with everybody is, number one, those that subscribe, we're still going to have consistent releases. So if you're subscribed, then when we release some information in the future, you'll just be notified of it. But we're going to switch things up a little bit and spread us out on whole episodes and go to bi-weekly or every other week, I guess I should say. Because we have some really cool guests coming up. I'm going to have to travel to California, to Texas, to Florida. I'm going to Spain in September. And these are the kind of guests that we want to have for you. And we want to talk about topics not only that you face in your business, but topics from all over. So you get different, it's multidimensional, it's three-dimensional, it's not just one place. You can also learn that people in Spain or people in California or Florida or people in the Caribbean or other parts of the world that we do business face the same issues that you do. And what we're going to talk about a little bit, I think, in my little takeout from the car, is first impressions. So they're really important. So I'm not going to dive deep into it because it is part of our book coming up. But it'll be part of what we talk about going forward, and consistency. And one of the reasons we're going to make this slight change to our schedule is so that we can stay consistent. Right?
Yeah, consistency is really important. We don't want to just drop the ball and just stop producing podcasts altogether. We still have a lot of messages to share and a lot of people to talk to about their influence and share with you guys. But we are experiencing a lot of, not hard moments, but challenges that are making us very busy right now. But it's our goal to still produce for you lessons and takeaways that are from what we believe and from our book. And consistency is a huge part of our first book, Find the I in Team, while First Impressions is going to be a part of our second book, Be the I in Team. So we're going to touch on that in the clip that's going to come up in just a minute. So yeah, like you were saying, we're going to probably alternate longer episodes with some shorter episodes so we can keep you guys in the loop with what we're thinking about.
And bring good content. You know what? Our goal is to bring you takeaways. The takeaway today is have a good first impression, be consistent. And I'm going to leave it at that, and we're going to come back and close out this brief, 15-minute episode, and we're going to close it out with you after I visit with you from the car, and then we'll close it out for you and recap what I talked about, and then set you up for next week's show. And actually share with you what that show is going to be about, which is going to be just an expansion of what we're talking about this week. We're going to take a deep dive into the correlation between first impressions and consistency. So let's have a visit from the car, and then we'll come back and close this out. We'll see you in a few minutes. Good morning, everybody. It's Brian Smith here, the I Am Team series. I'm on my way to the office. It's Monday, July 22nd, and this morning I was writing about first impressions, and first impressions will be part of the second book, Be the I Am Team. And first impressions are important, but then it dawned on me about first impressions can be inconsistent. One day we can choose one first impression or one way that we interact with people or new people, and the next it might be different. And it's also the same with how we run our businesses or how our services in our businesses are. I find it interesting that one of the things that is most consistent sometimes is the inconsistency by which that we manage ourselves and manage our business and influence people. So it's with this podcast that I'm struggling with that actually. We're way behind, and I own being behind on content development, primarily because I've chosen difficult tasks and difficult content. Difficult in that I want to do the interviews with people one-on-one. And I want to accommodate their schedules. It's not all about our schedule. And the guests that we are choosing are actually quite far away. We have 4 or 5 of them on the West Coast, and being in Chicago, that can be really, really difficult. So, but inconsistency breeds a lack of credibility, and people can accept you for being inconsistent, but they may not share or give you tasks that you hope to have or responsibility that you hope to have because of that inconsistency. So I challenge you to try to be consistent in everything that you do. So if you say something, then follow your own words. Don't be a do as I say, not as I do type of boss. If you have a way that you want people to be at work with customer experience or following policies and procedures, be consistent yourself in following those same rules. Don't think that you can break them because you're the boss. That's not the right example to set. It's inconsistent for that to happen. And remember that that's an impression. First impressions, which I'm writing about, are really important. It's true you never do get a second first impression, unless of course the first impression was so unremarkable that it was forgotten. Then I guess you get a chance to, you get a second chance at a first impression. But first impressions can be fixed, but first impressions can also lay a foundation for enhanced credibility, enhanced responsibility, and really enhanced influence. So as you go off this week, I challenge you to be consistent. I challenge you to have good first impressions, and I challenge you to be the most positive influence you can be in your sphere of influence. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you again soon. Well, welcome back. I hope that my little 3.5 minute rant from my car set you up for what next week's show is all about, which is going to be what I talked about there, which is first impressions and consistency, and consistency at both sides. Inconsistency is something that is actually consistent. So, as you heard me touch on, right? Mm-hmm. And it's one of the most frustrating things, and we're going to touch on this next week and really take a deep dive into how can we manage first impressions, and how can we make our first impressions consistent, and how can we use staying focused on our first impressions to help us develop better, consistent actions and goals. So, and we're building here for you a way of being a leader and managing your influence, which is managing, if it's people, then you're influencing people. If it's a whole company, you're influencing a whole company. Maybe it's clients. Maybe you're a supply manager and you have a supply chain that you manage, okay? So you have to influence that supply chain. This is all about having positive influence, where it matters to you in your life. and then you go home and you have a family. So we hope these takeaways can be both personal and for business. This is not just about business, because it's so commingled now, right, Mary? I mean, our lives have become commingled. A lot of us are friends we have from work, or our clients, or our vendors. We socialize a lot, and it all matters. And some of us have different personalities at work than we do outside of work, which can create an inconsistency in some people's minds, right? So how you manage that, or actually how you communicate that to people, can really help to differentiate. So we're going to do this deep dive next week and talk about managing these two very important parts of not just business but life, so that you can be more influential, have a bigger impact, positive impact, but a bigger impact in your sphere of influence, and continue on this journey with us as we continue to find, be, and build our influence through understanding ourselves and understanding those that we interact with, right? So please, if this is your first time listening to us and this is your first impression of us, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, or follow us
Twitter,
at Your Biz
LinkedIn.
Doctor, the Ian Team Series, the Ian Team Series podcast. There's links at the bottom at voiceamerica.com. So there's all different ways to follow us and stay in touch with us. And reach out to us also if you have any comments, if there's something that you'd like us to bring up during our show. If you're something you'd like to see some research on, or maybe ask us about our experience in our day-to-day consulting that we do every day with our clients all over the world, start to reach out to us and let's engage and start some conversations also. We'll probably add that to our future podcasts, a whole section of our podcast where we do some interaction, get questions from you and give you answers and share those questions and answers publicly. So we're going to begin to build and evolve this podcast to be more interactive and be more informational, and to give you all some more takeaway, so that it becomes something that's engaging and that you look forward to being involved in every week. I hope you have a great week and weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the I in Team podcast. We hope we've positively influenced you, and you've picked something up from the show that you can use in building and influencing other individuals or your team. Please join us soon for another program on the Voice America Business Channel.